we need to be aware of. See, age. Lynch also observes that people are more receptive to new ideas at a younger age and more willing to act out on those ideas when they encounter them. This is not always true, of course, but as he observes, there's an increased social cost sometimes to acting out on transgressive or esoteric beliefs the older you get. So in general, there's a trend towards conservatism in behavior and a rigidity of belief as most people age. And credentialing. The credentialing system in academia, which is another barrier that largely is now starting to be undermined by collaborative open source culture. But for a long time, you couldn't have an academic opinion, you couldn't have an opinion on certain subjects propagate without having credentials, without having certain letters after your name. So some of the counters to those barriers that I might suggest are valuing enthusiasm or imparting a renewed sense of agency as a counter to cynicism. Valuing lifelong advocacy or radical transparency regarding one's beliefs as a counter to the decreased proselytizing with age. And valuing open source culture and using the tools of algorithmic content moderation like Slash.karma and Google PageRank and just the Wikipedia editing system as an alternative to credentialing. These systems are still being designed. Some of you are probably designing them. And obviously they all have some flaws, but it's definitely a more egalitarian approach than simply the very limited credentialing system. Also consider the internet and online social networking as an amplifier for our evangelism, effectively increasing an individual's memetic reach while circumventing at least some of the previous social barriers to proselytization. So, memetic inoculations. Let's look at those. Intentionally introducing a meme, but in a weakened or non-viral form as a defense against future exposure to the real thing. For example, linking the anarchism meme with destruction, immaturity, violence, impracticality. Once an inert form of the meme has been successfully introduced to a mime, future attempts to introduce a different form of that same meme will be much more challenging, as they not only have to circumvent the host's normal memetic immune systems, but the associations introduced by the inoculation. Again, in the US, the idea of anarchism is not, this is what most people think of in our culture when they hear the word anarchism. They do not think of it as a viable system of political thought. They do not think of it as collaboration or consensus. They have been successfully inoculated with this idea, this association of anarchism with youth, immaturity, and destruction. So to propagate any of the values of the anarchist viewpoint in the West, you have to first circumvent this. And it's a really strong, I mean, for a lot of people, these sort of images are not inspiring. They're quite terrifying. It's a good fun. Who has the marshmallows? Okay, so let's get on to the exploits. All right, so here are some ways that advertisers and other people using these systems have tried to circumvent our memetic immune systems and get their messages through into our brains. Obviously, sex. I'm just going to hit some of the big ones because we've got still a lot to talk about. Here's an ad by the body wash Axe. It took a second, didn't it? All right, primal human desire, deriving from a strong genetic motivation, genes being the core replicators of all life, it follows that the sex meme, the concept of sex, sexual attraction, desire, the sexual act itself, would be one of the strongest, most fundamental memes. Since humans began advertising products to one another, countless ideas have been associated either directly or indirectly with sex. Now, one of the problems with pairing your meme, the idea that you want to transmit with a strong primal meme like this, is that the pairing is never going to be that strong. You might be able, through an advertisement like this, to, for a short time in someone's mind, make a connection between sex and Axe body wash. But the next time you ask them, hey, describe what comes in your mind when you think about sex, they're going to describe sex. They're not going to describe Axe body wash, because the sex idea in their mind is so much larger and deeper that association doesn't work the other direction. It might work just long enough that the next time they're in the store and they pass the aisle with the Axe body wash, they're like, oh, all right, let's try that. I mean, it may not be so conscious as, I'll buy this and I'll have sex, although that's certainly what the advertising, in America, some of the recent television ads for Axe have literally been, I wish I had one to show you, literally have just been two people having sex. And at the very end, totally naked, with what you can show on primetime television, and then right at the end, Axe body wash. That's just it, just sex. Nothing more than that. So they've really kind of finally just gone there. But this works well for advertisers. They don't care that that pairing is not durable, because in a few weeks or a month, when you really realize you're just having the same amount of sex you were having before, and that the body wash didn't help, you're vulnerable again to another similar pairing. And it can be for this again, or it can be for another product. So they actually don't, the fact that that's sort of fluid and sloughs off over a short amount of time serves advertising and the capitalist system really well. Let's see here. Power. The desire for agency in the world, an aspirational meta-meme. The desire for power encompasses the desire for all the tokens and manifestations of power: money, status, class, and of course, sex. This is the Machiavellian meme. The uneducated man wants to fuck, the educated man seeks to rule the world, knowing that by doing so, he will get to fuck as much as he wants. As Henry Kissinger once said, power is the ultimate aphrodisiac. A reasonable argument can be made for the Marxists in the audience, that given that Marx asserted that every interaction is an economic interaction, and all economic interactions are power interactions, that basically every memetic lever, every memetic motive comes back to being a power motive at some root level. Salvation. The necessary, the refuge of the helpless, fearful, or failed. If you fail to achieve your desires, sex, power, happiness, in life, we can promise it to you in the afterlife. This proposal is impossible to disprove, making it especially potent. How potent? Enough that some people, under the influence of this meme, choose to become suicide bombers, both the ultimate act of self-negation and of negation of others. The exact opposite what revolutionary memetics seeks, namely the affirmation of self in harmony with the affirmation of others. So this is a very powerful meme, the idea that, you know, if you follow these rules, no matter how failed your life has been, how limited your resources, how great your suffering, there will be an afterlife in which you will be rewarded. So let's see here. Where are we going next? Yes, by and by, by and by. We could all start singing old Union songs. And of course there's this. I have no idea what that's about. I don't know. Could be a coincidence. I don't know. Let's see there. So, where are we going next? Shakti value. Sorry. Thank you. All right. So, no one cares anymore. I mean, shock, again, Eleanor pointed this out in her talk this morning, shock just doesn't really have the same ability to move us, at least in modern Western culture. There are certainly groups of people who would find this really, really offensive. Daniel Dennett described, you want to go back? There we go. Here, I'll go to this. How's that? Is that better? Oh, wait, how about that? Huh. Oh, okay. Daniel Dennett calls, he talks about this in saying that we in our culture have developed these memetic immune systems to things like pornography. Like in a very liberal culture, we don't really think that much as, oh yeah, pornography, no big deal. It's like a mild cold. And it passes over us, or something, some offensive or shocking image, but really it doesn't move us in the same way. And he points out rather kindly to realize that there are cultures still, the majority of the world who find those images deeply disturbing